What's going on, everybody? It's me, E-Man, and yeah, this gravity is kind of crazy. We're going to review Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Okay, someone catch me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel or like my Facebook fan page. And shout out to the now 40,000 followers of my Facebook fan page who continuously come to my page, talk about movies, and just make the page way more awesome than it can be. Also, don't forget to share this review if you enjoyed it. Okay, so without further ado, let's do a quick intro. With the rebels under attack, Rey, Finn, Poe, Leia, and Luke have to do whatever they can to spark some hope in the galaxy that good will overcome evil. Alright, enough of that, let's get right into the good.
The good.
As you know, with many of the Star Wars movies, the second you see that opening crawling text and the blasting of the Star Wars classic theme, it's almost like you're thrown into a time machine and you're enjoying this for the very first time. Fortunately, this movie doesn't really rely on the nostalgia factor as much as The Force Awakens did. While there are obvious callbacks to previous characters and such, The Last Jedi does not become a modern day version of The Empire Strikes Back. Not only that, but there are so many climactic moments that will leave you on the edge of your seat. There's such a nice balance of suspense and drama and action and even humor. Director Rian Johnson deserves so much credit and praise for this film. I can really see why Disney decided to give this man the keys to the kingdom and direct the next spin-off Star Wars trilogy. One of my hopes going into this movie was that The Last Jedi would finally create its own unique and original path in this Star Wars franchise. Johnson successfully does that by avoiding almost all of the expectations Star Wars fans may have had going into the film. With the way the movie ends, the field is now completely wide open with where the next Star Wars movie is gonna go. Even better, Johnson stayed true to some classic Star Wars elements. One of those elements was to make sure that The Last Jedi was full of those Star Wars life lessons. I thought it was brilliant how this movie was able to bring forth those lessons through the experiences of the individual characters. Moving on, the overall cinematography should definitely be praised for this film as well. Maybe I'm being a prisoner of the moment, but I can't recall a more visually stimulating spaceship battle. The usage of the environment and the terrain was captivating in many scenes. And without question, there's one particular scene with a spaceship that can only be described as epic. That scene is so jaw-dropping that they masterfully muted the sound at the precise moment where you as an audience member are probably sitting there practically speechless looking at this epic scene. And you'll definitely know it when you see it. But I can honestly say I cannot recall the last time I saw a spaceship do what was done in that iconic sequence. Beyond even all that, The Last Jedi is gonna really challenge what you thought you knew about the Force. I thoroughly enjoyed the new ways that the Force was displayed and used in this movie. As I mentioned before, one other element that was introduced into this movie was the humor. And I really think that the writing did a great job in terms of making the humor fit very well with the overall plot. Some scenes were so funny that I actually thought I was watching Spaceballs or something. Now, I definitely don't want to say that this movie was comedic, but it did have some humorous moments sprinkled throughout the film. I think the reason why this worked was because the humor made sense within the story. The humor was not shoehorned or forced into the movie, nor did it completely disrupt or distract the tonality of the film either. Now let's talk about some of these great characters. In my opinion, I believe that some of the supporting characters actually outshine some of the main characters of this film. I absolutely loved Kelly Marie Tran's performance as Rose. She was a very unexpected character in a supporting role that simply delivers to the very end of the film. The most touching performance that will hit you right in the feels is obviously going to be Carrie Fisher's role. Given her unfortunate passing, it was wonderful to see her in the role of Princess Leia as she displayed a beautiful blend of strength, leadership, and love through her character. Now, when it came to Snoke, I first of all liked the fact that the CGI was handled very well. We absolutely got to see more of Snoke, and even better, we got to see his power on display. I thought his demonstration of power was extremely effective at showing just how much of a threat he can be as a villain. Probably one of my absolute favorite characters had to be that of Poe Dameron, played by Oscar Isaac. Poe probably displayed the most character development of all the characters. And of course, we can't forget about BB-8. We already know from the previous films that the androids typically get the funniest and the most fun scenes, and BB-8 does not disappoint at all. Now, as for the heavy hitter lead characters, I think the one that stood out the most was Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker. As you could see from the trailers, Luke Skywalker isn't the happy-go-lucky optimistic Jedi we knew from the original Star Wars films. Without going into any spoiler territory, I really appreciated how his character had to go through his own journey in this film. As a matter of fact, we probably have the most epic moment in Star Wars cinematic history unfold with Luke's character. In the last couple of scenes in the film, Luke shines so brightly that I'm sure it'll have the internet buzzing for years to come. Okay, enough of that. Let's get right into the bad.
The bad.
Alright, let me give a little disclaimer before some of you diehard Star Wars fans try to start coming for my head. The following bad critiques are incredibly mild. They don't disrupt the film, they don't make it horrible, they don't kill it or anything like that. But the bad still has to be noted, right? First of all, the movie is every bit of long as the 2 hours and 32 minutes as the runtime is stated to be. Don't get me wrong, there aren't any like slow or dragging moments throughout the film that make it feel too boring or anything like that. Rather, there are a number of moments where it would appear as though the film could have or should have ended. We have a few big climactic scenes where you would really think the movie is about to stop, but then it only continues into another side story. Then that happens again and again and again. Luckily for us, every time we think the movie is about to end, they end up giving us a whole different story, which is still entertaining and intriguing, so you're going to still be captivated to keep watching. However, you will notice, at the very least, the prolonged time that you've probably been sitting there in that theater chair. Okay, now, next thing, I feel a little bad going into this, but I gotta mention it. I wasn't a big fan of a certain scene that they do with Princess Leia. I'll just say that that particular scene was a little bit of a reach, and it didn't have enough contextual basis for the audience to really connect with. In order for this particular scene to make sense, we have to jump through these like mental hoops to connect the dots. I mean, first you're gonna have to recall a couple things that might have been mentioned in the original Star Wars trilogy, and then you're gonna have to make a huge assumption just to make that scene make more sense. To me, I just think that for that particular scene, a better transition would have been needed to make that scene a little bit more believable. By the way, I do have a spoiler discussion video that's going to be coming up where I definitely dig a little bit deeper into this, but I have to keep things spoiler free. So now another issue that I had was the decision making of Kylo Ren. Now I'll fully admit that maybe I missed something, or maybe I just misunderstood Kylo Ren's intentions. And feel free to let me know that in the comments below if you think I really did miss it. As we know from the previous film, Kylo's been conflicted with his decision making. At a point in the film, he makes a very particular decision, and to me, it came off to be a little bit hypocritical and maybe even a little nonsensical. Furthermore, I don't believe that his decision is a good setup for whatever direction his character later adopts. Again, more of that is going to be talked about in the spoiler discussion video. Now, I think one of the biggest issues in this movie is going to be what I think appears to be stagnant character development with the main characters in Kylo Ren and Rey. Compared to the other supporting characters who have some major challenges and internal battles to overcome, it didn't appear as though Rey nor Kylo Ren actually progressed very much as characters. Now, let me be very clear about this. I'm not saying that Kylo Ren or Rey don't go through anything, or that nothing happens to them, or that they don't have their own little journeys to go through. What I'm saying is that those two characters seem to be relatively about the same as they were compared to in The Force Awakens. The level of development or growth is very minimal. Okay, enough of that, let's get on to the reason.
The reason.
Star Wars The Last Jedi is probably the best Star Wars movie to date. Now hold on, pick up your jaw and put your eyeballs back in your socket. I should say that Star Wars The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie by default. What I mean is this film is a natural progression of the Star Wars films because it incorporates all the good elements from the previous Star Wars movies all into one. Even better, this film drizzles a lot of originality which dismantles the original Star Wars cinematic formula. That essentially pushes it ahead of all the other Star Wars movies. And if you couldn't tell by now, I do believe that The Last Jedi is better than The Force Awakens. Now, after watching this film, I have to admit that this film did circumvent and exceed my expectations. The Last Jedi has a ton of twists and surprises throughout the entire movie. So even though I always give you guys spoiler-free reviews, I had to be even more spoiler-free than usual. And again, if any of you guys really want to dig in a little bit deeper into what I'm talking about, and if you just don't care about spoilers, feel free to check out my spoiler discussion video where I definitely dig a lot deeper into this movie because there's a lot to talk about. Either tune back to this video for the link or just check the description above at a later date. So when it comes to the rating of Star Wars The Last Jedi, I've got to give it a 9 out of 10. Star Wars The Last Jedi is absolutely a must-watch in theaters. If you're thinking about watching this in 3D, please feel free and go right ahead. There are a lot of intentional scenes in this movie that have really great shots for 3D viewers. I personally didn't watch it in 3D, but I could absolutely tell that if I did watch it in 3D, it would have looked even better. Now, one thing I would definitely recommend is try to watch this movie in Dolby Atmos if your local theater provides it. It's basically like a really cool sound system and it helps with the visuals and everything. And I'm telling you, it makes the sounds and the viewing experience so much better for this film. So be sure to go check it out one way or another. Are you excited to watch Star Wars The Last Jedi? Please let me know down in the comments down below. When are you gonna see it? How are you gonna see it? If you have seen Star Wars The Last Jedi, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. But please don't ruin it for people with this video, because this is the spoiler-free one. So please don't spoil it at all for people because there's a lot to spoil. You can always go to my spoiler version of this video and we can talk about the nitty-gritty details in the comments for the spoiler video, but please don't do it for this spoiler-free one. Once again, don't forget, like, comment, share this video if you enjoyed it. I got more reviews for you guys, and until next time, I'll see you later, and of course, may the Force be with you.